so much for being here. Because I've been here for 30-some years, and I'm gonna miss seeing the trees, don't get me wrong. But after I've been on the commission a couple times, plus that involved with the town and everything, we always said we need commercial business in town, get our tax rate up and do this and do that. So I am, excited about it, and what I'm going to do. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let, who's going to do most of the talking to start with?
Chairman, probably if I start just a little intro.
Okay.
Go as you proceed. Yeah.
All right, Scott.
And
Do that.
as was indicated, this is a concept plan review, so it's a little unique in that y'all aren't making any decision, you're not giving any opinion, you're not, no approvals, no disapprovals, no recommendations tonight. Some jurisdictions will require developers to do a community meeting to show what they're conceptually talking about doing. And I assume when this was put in the code, that was the intent of this, and they just incorporated this board as a place to do it. So you're not going to be making any votes, not going to issue any order or any finding or anything like that. The other thing I think that's very important is as this process goes through this, once this concept plan is done, it's going to go back and there may be discussion in more detail about the further reviews that it has to go through, the development plan review, things like that will still come before you. What I think is most important to understand at the stage we're at right now, it's not about whether this use is appropriate. That's not the discussion. Everything that they're proposing to do is a permitted use. What we are talking about is only the site plan layout, how this use is going to be laid out through the approval process. So the discussion is not about do we want to change our land use and our zoning to allow this use in this property. That was done all back. This use is allowed. We're just talking about how this site will be developed to accommodate this use. I think that's very important because that's the focus. When it comes back for action for you all, that's what you're going to be looking at. You're not going to be looking at a land use change, a rezoning change to a different zoning category. You're going to be looking at site development plans. You see if those site development plans comply with our regulations. So it's a very narrow focus that we'll be looking at as this project moves forward. That's basically the last stage of approval. Sometimes when we get projects come in, we have to change land use. Put in our comprehensive plan, change the land use, go to a different zoning to get to this point. You don't have to do anything. All that is in place. We are just now looking at the layout and the construction of this proposed project. I just want to kind of get that over.
Thank you, Scott. Now, Tim, are you going to speak on this thing and go through it for us?
Yes, I'm going to.
All right, come on up to the podium.
Yeah, that and we're going to have Dave do it.
Oh, okay. What I want to do is just get a rundown of what the people got in front of them and, what it's going to be. Because I'll tell you, in this town, there's one thing about it. Rumors are the biggest thing in the whole town. So we just got to get rid of the rumors and get the dust up. So if you could do that, I'd appreciate it.
Certainly. Chairman, we fully understand that there's been some information going around that may be correct or incorrect. I haven't read it or addressed it, so at this point I'm going to present our project team and do the best I can to answer any questions. If I can't answer them, we have 2 engineers with us and an attorney that certainly can answer them. I'll do the best I can. Our project team, our engineer is Quick Engineering, Dave Holden,
Brewer is with us this evening.
I don't think this is good.
With us this evening. Our attorney is Barry Walker. He's
All right, we have Keith Trace, which is in the back of the room. He is also a professional engineer with Donna Investments. And of course, I'm Tim Louds, and I do land planning and governmental affairs for Donna Investments. For the record, my address is
North Summerlin.
Jim, speaking to his mic, keeps cutting in and out on me for some reason. Yes, that's much better. Thank you. Tonight, we're seeking a review of conceptual plan for a mixed-use project consisting of plus or minus 23 acres. The project is located east of I-4, southwest of the intersection of West Main and south of Summit Avenue. The subject site is currently vacant. The property is assigned a land use classification of GED, which is Gateway Employment District, and single-family residential low density. The zoning is currently GCD, which is Gateway Commercial District, single-family residential 3, is 3 units per acre. The two northern parcels are within the Gateway Overlay District. The southern parcels are within the single-family residential 3 zoning district, allowing a maximum density of 3 units per acre. The property is located outside the historic district. We're proposing a multi-phase mixed-use development consisting of 10 single-family lots, an assisted living facility, and 7 commercial buildings. The project has undergone 4 reviews by the city planner, LPG. We have made and provided revisions to the requested to support the conceptual plan. The city planner has completed a review of our concept plans and revisions and has no objections to our concept plan moving forward. There was several minor comments that we did address on that, and that's pretty much an overview of the project. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions, concerns, and again, if I can't answer them, hopefully I have some people here that can.
Right. Tim, would you do me a favor and go looking at the plans here, okay? Would you explain, like, zone 1 is retention pond plus 10 homes, correct? I just want you to run over that, so.
Absolutely. Phase 1, phase 1 consists of compensating storage or retention pond, consisting of 10 residential single-family homes. 8. Phase 2 is the assisted living center, and that's consisting of a assisted living center and 2 residential homes. The remainder of the project is, I believe we have 4 medical standalone buildings, and we have 1 drive-through restaurant that's coming into that.
Yes.
That's correct. So what we've done is we've created a nice transition from the residential into with the ALS in between and then the commercial that comes up on.
All right, that
Yeah,
was,
launch camp.
yeah, that's pretty well covers it as far as it goes. And, those homes and stuff, and then the doctor's home and so forth. So these are like, not so many stores, but they're built, commercial buildings for offices and so forth, correct?
Yes, sir. We're designated them as medical offices at
Yes.
this point. which we
In a
felt-
combination with the senior citizens.
Yes, sir. In combination with the assisted living facility.
Okay, I got you. So they will work together and everything else. So, but, all right, listen, I appreciate it. Like I say, we're looking forward to working with this plan and seeing what we can do. And, I'm gonna bring up the citizens now and let them question you on it. Any questions from the board here? Go ahead.
Do you have a time frame between phases? that because phase one, for a plan purpose, is listed as residential. But once this goes through the next two rounds, which would be a plan development, which will come back to you, and then the commission, and then a final site plan, economics may determine what phasing and what goes on. So just from that aspect, it might be difficult to get hung up on the phasing and the timing. The phases are just a concept at this point.
Okay, I wasn't looking to nail it down to, I just, this is gonna happen this year, and it's gonna happen 5 years down the road, not that.
Currently, I can't share this much with you that I'm aware of. Currently, the way the concept plan is reading, phase one is the compensated storage or retention pond. So phase one, of course, would be completed first because the other two phases rely on the compensated storage from that for stormwater ground. So if it remains exactly the way it's phased now, the phase one element would come into play first. More than likely, after that, it would go phase two or phase three, or maybe phase three to phase two. We're not positive on that yet. A lot of this is based on the commercial market and how it goes, whether we build phase two before we do phase three. So it's a more of a market-driven situation than what we got. Currently, we know for certain compensated storage being in phase one, that it will definitely be phase one. There's no way around that.
Just to follow up with what Jim said, is requirement for the submittal requirements when you have a phasing plan. So when we do the development plan, and they want to do phasing, our requirements state that the development phasing schedule shall be included, including the sequence of requirements of each phase, including build-out year for each phase. So as they progress, when it comes back to you, the preliminary development plan review stage,
Gotcha.
or final development review stage, I'm just going to come back and twice. You will have that specific detail before you do the final.
Okay. But the only thing that I was gonna say was, we have to do phase one for the retention pond, because everything relies on that drainage. So when we start putting stuff in, put the pipes in, we can run them into there. So phase one, the most important thing of phase one is getting that retention pond done, the elevations finished and everything. And then, as we move along, no matter where we are, we can bring pipes into it for drainage and stuff. That's all.
Absolutely.
All right, is there any other commissioner with something to say about that? Go ahead.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. First, I would like to say hello. My name is Teresa Lane. Welcome to the city of Lake Helen. I hope everything goes well. This is a very complete packet as far as concept planning. I couldn't have included more information. You guys covered everything. And I just want to say thank you for choosing Lake Helen for this project. And it's a wonderful, you did a good job marrying the land you're using and your concept. And I just wanted to welcome you.
Commissioner, thank you so much. Thank you very much for coming.
We've got a couple.
No, final question. There you go. There you go.
I'm getting old.
That,
I wanted to make a few comments. I've seen a lot of
Yes, sir. Now, if I understand the sidewalk that is in front of the two residential.
Across the street, yeah, across the street is first,
That's on the wood side. One and two.
It's over on the
Lot 1 and 2?
yes. Lot one, across the lot one, you take the substitute sidewalk, then you go along the side of the parking lot, but you don't carry the sidewalk all the way to the Summit Street, so people don't have to walk in the street, and they want for the kids to walk.
That would be on Pennsylvania Avenue? In front of 1 and 2?
You see what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Sidewalks, that is into the parking lot. And it should go all the way across to the street, to the east.
Dave, I'm going to bring one of our engineers and let him answer that. I know he's a lot better qualified to answer that question than what I am. So I'm going to ask Dave to come up and answer that.
So my suggestion is, when people are here, you want to walk through that.
I think that's a good idea, that should be in.
Yeah. That was one. The second one has to do with, this is Michigan. I can't read this.
Right, Michigan.
This is something. Summit, south of Main Street, is residential street. All of it is residential street. That you can put your sign that indicates, what's the name of that facility?
At this point, we have not named it.
Just a concept plan.
Concept plan, well,
Two signs are supposed to be on the page.
But we are definitely open to recommendations today.
well, you understand, well, there's a monument on Summit, doesn't belong on Summit. So my suggestion is that you apparently have a double driveway on the Main Street coming into your medical facility, is that correct? There are median people on that street.
Yeah, it's,
First entrance there,
Okay, you're talking on phase 3?
Top of phase 3, yes, that's what
Phase 3, That is- Yeah, there's two two-way entrances.
well, what my suggestion is you orient that beautiful new big medical facility towards the Main Street via this Main Street that you've got going into it. It appears to me that because y'all do use buffering along the northern part of the summit, and because you put a monument over there for a sign, you're oriented in the front of this facility here towards that neighborhood. Doesn't belong oriented towards that neighborhood. Belongs oriented over here towards I-4 and the visit Main Street. So my suggestion is to take that monument, put it over there in the median of that, and name this little street for whatever this facility is.
Okay.
And then you take this monument that you have up there with these first three commercial structures, and you just move it over a little bit. So that the commercial part is oriented toward Main Street, and you leave the residential part alone as much as absolutely possible.
Okay, we can certainly take that under advisement, absolutely. Make the notes in that, and we'll have our engineer take a look at doing that.
That's all I can think of right now.
Yeah, we have put, it didn't show on this plan, we have put a 10-foot buffer. It doesn't show on this plan on Summit.
Yeah.
We have done that. We've also moved the ALS back a little bit to allow for, trying to get it away from the residential.
That's good. What's your attitude about the trees? You want to save as many trees as you possibly can?
Absolutely, we fully intend to.
There's some gorgeous trees on that property.
Yeah, there is. We're going to, unfortunately, we're going to lose some of them, but we're certainly going to do everything we can to save the specimen trees that are on the property.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments?
going forward on this thing, that there's 144 beds in the nursing home, I call it a nursing home. You know, assisted living, whatever it is, there's 144 beds in that building there, stuff. But everything kind of feeds in pretty good as far as what you got here, really. You know, so I don't think there's no more questions on the thing that I'll ask the audience. If they were big.
Mr. Chairman, I will be right over here.
Yeah, thank you,
To
sir.
assist. Commissioner, Mr. Chairman, thank you for having us this evening. Thank you for
You
your
can stay in
time.
the building, it's okay.
I would.
Okay.
I'm not going in.
All right.
My wife has my car keys. I can't-
Thank you, Tim. Thank you so much, Tim, and thank you for the other guys. All right, first citizen I got to call is Todd Preston.
Good evening, Todd Preston, 352 Bennett Avenue. I have 5 talking points, and they may take more than 3 minutes. I'll try to keep it as quick as possible. But they're valid points. You don't have to answer my questions to me, but I want you to take them into consideration. So before I start, I put them down so we can look at them and you can review them afterwards. So I'm going to pass some of those out, okay? While she's passing those out, I would say, my personal opinion is, I'm very pleased with the design and the concept. It works good with the land development codes for mixed use, and I think if it goes through, it's gonna be a great project. So, we have 5 talking points. The first one's loading and unloading. I think it's an important one. The plan accommodates the LDC's land development codes require 2 loading and unloading spaces for the assisted living facility. However, the proposed location of the loading and unloading lane is undesirable in relation to the proximity with the front-facing residential lots 1 and 2. There's a likelihood that loading and unloading operations could adversely affect the privacy of those residences. Question, can a developer relocate the loading zone to the west side of the facility away from the residential homes? Number 2, parking. The planning notes indicate the submitted plan has more than the required parking spaces. However, the plan also omits the required loading and unloading spaces for each commercial building. Those loading and unloading dedicated spaces are required by the land development code. Can they please update to redesignate 12 of the proposed parking spaces to loading, unloading spaces for each designated building? Thereby, that would assist them in reducing the amount of excess parking spaces. Number 3, there's a square footage discrepancy on the concept plan. Buildings 1, 4, and 6 are indicated on the concept plan and the building and use area summary table. Schedule as being 8,000 square feet each. However, the dimensional measurements shown for those buildings are 7,527, 7,090, and 7,520 square feet respectively. While these discrepancies could be attributable to Scribner's errors, they also potentially parlay into legal discrepancies further into the development. And approving a concept, is the city approving the smaller dimensions or the larger ones? Said dimensions are also used to calculate other land development code requirements such as required parking spaces, handicap spaces, bike racks, etc. So the question is, can the plan be updated to reflect accurate floor area ratios to correlate with the dimensional measurements of the buildings? Again, buildings 3 and 5, it's the same situation. They're indicated as being 12,000 square feet, but the measurements show they're only 10,694 square feet. So there's a discrepancy. Which would you be approving? So can they update the plan to accurately reflect the size of those buildings? Number 4, fire hydrants for the residential lots. The concept plan, page 4, shows 3 fire hydrants located along the main drag in front of the north side of the ALF. And all the ALF and all the commercial buildings will be required to have fire department connections with sprinkler buildings, so they'll be supported with water and fire. However, there's no indication on the plan for any fire fire hydrants to serve as the 10 residential lots. Since this is a concept, there is one existing fire hydrant located across the street at the southeast corner of South Summit in Delaware. However, that's already in place, and it's to service the homes on Delaware in that region. And the fire department preferred to rely on that, they'd be dragging hoses across the street. Could they please, the question is, can they please update to indicate fire hydrants at the street corners of Michigan Avenue and Pennsylvania Avenue, at the southwest side of Summit Avenue, that would be at each corner. It's approximately 600 some feet long, that block with the 6 residences, and there's 2 going each way on the side streets. I think they each need to have a fire hydrant at the corner. Lastly, utilities. The only indication for utilities on the concept plan is a line legend symbol for existing overhead electric. The project absolutely should have buried utilities throughout. The city needs to capitalize on every development project possible to bury utilities as a matter of prudence. New development is the most advantageous time to achieve this task in the most economical manner to the city. And the plan be updated to indicate that all utilities where possible shall be underground. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Yes, I think there's no problem. I don't think you have any problem with taking 2 parking spots out of each one of these buildings to make a loading ramp. That's what you got to do. I don't think that's a big problem.
Chairman, we could just clarify again, you're not approving.
No, no, I'm just saying.
Comments in, so just folks know that when they walk out of here, this can change.
Yes, of course.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make one comment on that.
Go ahead.
I think it's admirable you want to put in more parking spaces than are required. Because I've been at the hospital on Plymouth when it's parked, I've seen it parked everywhere. So I think that's a good idea.
All right, next speaker will be Clark Hall. Clark, yeah.
I'm Clark Waters. I live on Main Street, and I'm not as detailed as Todd was. Thank you very much. But I live on Main Street in Woods Lake, Helen, and this is affecting us in a large way. We're very concerned about it. We certainly want to work with the developer and try and help them with our input if they're willing to accept it. I talked to a few of my neighbors, about 8 of them, and they all kind of gave me this consensus of what we came up with, so I'd just like to read it with you too. I don't expect any comeback from you or discussion on what their ideas and thoughts are. One thing I do want to ask, do any of you gentlemen live in Lake Helen? Sir. Okay, thank you. I understand we must all come to the mindset to seek first to understand one another, to try and help one another. The homeowners with homes adjacent to your proposal want to work hand in hand with you to make it beautiful and successful for everyone, including us. Is this possible? And I believe that it is. May I share a few concerns that we had among the neighbors that possibly could help? Most of us want to ask the developer to do things that we know you want to do to enhance your project, while at the same time that wouldn't destroy our beautiful neighborhood that we live in and their values. Summit Avenue, whether you are familiar or not, is a speedway. People fly down that road all the time. We've asked for speed bumps, we've asked for stop signs, we've asked for anything we can do to stop that. This is not going to enhance that, it's going to make it worse, we feel. The plan shows a total of 336 parking spots and 1 retention pond. And as you all know, we have water issues right now with drainage in Lake Helen. So if you look at the size of the retention pond compared to the amount of concrete 75-foot buffer. The plans are very vague on what's on the other side of that before you did a house, on lots 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if you have a car in the garage, a car in the parking in the driveway, and somebody comes to visit you, guess where they're gonna park? They're gonna park on the side. So that creates an issue right there. Let's see, where do we leave off at? We're hoping on the buffer that they have, which I don't know if there's room enough to do this, but put in some type of a buffer like a Leyland cypress that grows fast, very beautiful, creates a buffer from the homes to the street that would enhance the people that are buying the home, and also help the people that on the woods lake on the side, not have to look at their houses that are facing sun. On the fast food considerations, we have concerns with that about the trash that's going to be developed. We have neighbors here that pick up trash every day along with others on Main Street. People that don't live on Main Street, this is weird, she helps out with that. But we're constantly picking up trash. Commercial buildings, truck drivers, they're throwing stuff out the window, fast food thing, restaurants, you come out and stop at the side, you're throwing things out there, again, our neighborhood is destroyed. Not only that, but when you get off of the interstate and you come into our town, what's the first thing you're gonna see now? It's not gonna be the beautiful trees and the beautiful woods that are there, even though they can leave the trees, they say as many as they can, we've seen that happen before, we know what that's gonna leave us with, so that was another large concern of ours. And these are just concerns tonight. The stormwater plan, excuse me?
4 minutes. We actually went longer. It's talking.
Okay, give it another minute.
No, we went 4. It's talking like 4, so I'm just letting.
Oh, okay. So I usually have 3 minutes speaking time for each person.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Okay, next is Lori Spears. Lori Spears here.
Spears?
Yeah.
Yes. Good evening, I'm Lance Spears, I live at 491 Summit Avenue. My biggest concerns, I echo one that you said about the sign being on the summit side because of residential. And I happen to live right between 2 and 3. So my concern also would be the driveway coming right out there. I assume that's a driveway. Could be wrong. Traffic flow, are we gonna finally get a traffic signal in Lake Helen? Damn it.
No, we don't. You haven't had it in 30-some years.
I know, I hope not, but
Yeah.
it's inevitable. And with me living, I've only been here 4.5 years, but, so I'm a newbie to your city, and I love it. But I do happen to live, even though I say I live in Lake Helen, I happen to live in the woods, which, don't hold that against me, okay? But Summit is gonna change our entire atmosphere. It's not what I want to do. It truly isn't. Thank you.
Thank you. Kurt?
Before I forget speaking, I have two cards up there. One is on personal, and the other one's on behalf of the HOA. I'm the president of the HOA, Blake Keller. Am I going to be permitted to speak on both cards?
Would you repeat that, please?
Yes. I'm the president of the Woods of Lake Helen. I would like to speak on behalf of the Woods of Lake Helen as the president, and I would also like to speak on behalf as of a resident of Lake Helen. So will I be allowed or afforded the time of 2 comments or limited to 1?
As long as you can do it in 3 minutes.
3 or does got 4?
Okay.
All right, that's fine.
That's very generous. You can-
Okay, that's fine. So I'm gonna pick up a park left off the top area around the
Go ahead.
pond can be that it turned into a walking trail with park benches for not only the assisted living facility, but patients. You know, we all know about the beds, you know, as good as with tax money. You know, we're gonna need added things along Summit, which the city might need to be responsible for. If I understand correctly, there's gonna be an HOA for these homes. Is it gonna be an HOA homes, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so that's something that we can later discuss. My ask is just a few things. Number one, I would like an extensive environmental study done on this because I do believe there are scrub jays in there because we put bird feeders up and guess we're now eating our bird feeders. So that's something you all are gonna have to really pay attention to. Number two, how is this gonna affect our stormwater drainage system? Because the retention pond, one of the retention ponds is right behind my backyard. I live on Delaware and Summit. I am that house. All right?
Okay.
Second thing is this, are we gonna change, or bend rules in building these homes? Because as I understand, no, garages can face the road on Summit. Because when I built my house, I had to flip my house because I wasn't allowed to have the garage facing Summit. So that's something else you're gonna need to take into consideration on this plan, or they're gonna need, because right now they have the garages facing Summit. So are we gonna pick and choose which rules we're gonna choose or use to appease a developer? Or are we gonna stick our guns when you all decide on doing this? Number 3, buffer, all right? I understand what you have going on there, but being there, or where I live, I want a bigger buffer. I wanna make sure when I walk out my back patio, I don't see a back of a house. Okay? Is there a way to make this retention pond configured a little bit differently to bring the road off of Michigan to get into those holes? Make little cul-de-sacs so driveways are now facing a different way instead of facing Summit, which is against guidelines. The commercial buildings. Am I mistaken that all buildings along Main Street, the frontage has to face Main Street? Or is it only on residential, or is it on commercial as well? Are we gonna change the rules to appease a developer? These are things you need to look into, because if you have to put the buildings facing Main Street, hence now we're gonna change the parking lots. We're gonna change everything that's going along. As president of the HOA, I take my community very serious. I love my community. I built there for a reason. I love the people that live there. We may not always agree on things, but I still love them all. Okay? As far as the monument site on the Summit, I don't think it needs to be there. I don't think there should be any entrances on the Summit, to be honest with you. That's gonna add traffic along Summit. I'm waiting for the first accident once this thing is opened up, because somebody's not paying attention to somebody's pulling out of there. Okay? Summit is a cut through, a huge cut through, and it's a speed zone. So with that being said, I'm done with my time. Apparently I have 45 seconds. So really consider this, and I'm asking you guys, the developers, as a board member, as the president, if you guys want to set an appointment with our residents, let me know. And then maybe we can come to an understanding and a conclusion on what will work best for you guys and for our homeowners.
Absolutely. Be sure to put your
I sure will, all right?
Yeah, that's our goal also, is to come to a development that's good for you folks.
Yeah, we were here first.
No, not actually, we both have
just gotta mention something else, so it's straightened out for people. You gotta remember, any construction you should do or anything else, through the county, we have to have a tree inspection. They will go through, pick out the good trees, and they can be saved, and probably be saved. So the tree inspection has to come before we do any construction, anything else. All right. Next person is HOA president.
That was me, so you can throw that one away.
Oh, that's you?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't even know I was talking to the president, my God. Okay. Jeff Ritchie.
Good evening, everyone. Jeff Ritchie, 310 West Michigan. A couple comments, and I have one specific question. First, I think the idea of sitting down with the neighbors is really a wonderful offer. Certainly throughout our state, we have examples where commercial and residential is blended wonderfully, and there are examples where it is awful. We hope that this is a wonderful partnership. The residents of the Woods have invested collectively somewhere north or south of about $50 million in their homes. So we certainly have, collectively have a vested interest. One question that I have, and maybe this is best for Scott, in the gateway standards, there's page 6, it says this ordinance shall apply to any development property which is contiguous to property within the gateway corridor that is under common ownership, partial common ownership, or was under common partial ownership, blah, blah, blah. Is that, so part of the property is certainly in the gateway, part is not, but it is contiguous ownership. Is that saying that the gateway standard applies to all of the property, or just what's within the gateway because of the contiguous ownership?
I would have, what section, you know what section?
So, you know, Scott, I'm reading this off my phone.
Well, you can, once you email it to Jim, you'll forward it
Okay,
to me.
perfect.
And then because it's something I'll have to look at.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, is Nancy Berry in the audience on this?
Hi, Nancy Beery, 435 West Delaware. I have a couple of things regarding the concept of 10 homes and residentially, I mean, they're only allowed a minimum of a third of an acre, one or 3 per acre, and these are marked down to 2.9 or 0.29. So I don't think that you could fit 10 in that area. I'm also kind of curious because I worked on a project for a long time regarding this area, and I know that the land that we're talking about for residential is by the county zoned commercial. So I know the comp plan for Lake Ellen has it as residential, but the county and the owner have it as commercial, and they've been paying taxes as commercial. However that weighs out, that's something that's gonna have to be looked into. I'm also curious, how many of these facilities, these assisted living facilities, have been built right here, local in Volusia County, that this is supposed to be? Anybody can show us?
I don't know about Volusia County.
Well, there's one in Deltona, they just built one in Deltona.
You're looking at a concept.
This is not your concept,
Like,
they know.
what's been built or what's not been built, this is site specific.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna make the statement that I know that this concept has been built right down the road on Lake Helen Road by the Dollar General, same thing. So what is the draw for here? And I think it's something that we need to consider.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything to say? Yes.
The gentleman that was cut off, he didn't get to a
gentleman, Mr. Chairman, actually, they would like him to be able to give it another couple of minutes to finish up his statement. Okay.
What was that, 2 minutes? 2 minutes?
2 minutes is good.
One,
Longer than I waited. Let's see, well, most of us here are all in favor of doing this for the assisted living with the tax revenues that are coming in. We appreciate that. We applaud you for that as well. We certainly need the money. One of the things that I'd like to see is a better water service than what we have now. The water in Lake Helen is deplorable. I know they work on it, they tell you it's fine, but every time I turn my water on, it smells like somebody flushed a toilet. I'm sorry to say that in public, but it does. It hasn't been fixed, so I'm hoping that there's some money that we get from this that the city will use to improve our water system. I know that everything's in the work to replace the lines. The HOA, once it was mentioned earlier, possibly, maybe we could combine sources on the HOA since it's only 10 homes. Maybe they would want to come with us, but that's another discussion with our HOA to do that. And we'd love to have you coming in, and we'd love to speak with you and help you, as Kurt said earlier, so we were really eager to work with you. And thank you for the extra time. Appreciate it.
thank you so much for your concern.
Thank you, and that was Mr. Clark. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Glad Mr. Feather.
Thanks, sir.
I would like to say just a couple of things. I'm sure most of you in this room, or some of you in this room know me. And to the gentleman who is concerned that we're not applying rules, anybody in this room who does know me knows that I don't bend up here. I go by the comp plan. Occasionally there are exceptions, but we don't pick and choose. I don't feel like this board picks and chooses. I feel like we have a comp plan, and we do our best to keep the city true. I know I do. I've been here 30 years, and many of you have been here longer than me, and you remember the cow pastures and the beautiful trees that is now known as Victoria. We also knew the woods as woods. So we didn't own that property. People, a developer into land, owned Victoria, he developed them. We didn't want it. It changed our water, it changed how the water flows, the sheep flows, it changes everything, it changes the wildlife. But we adapted, and they made it beautiful. The woods, I gotta tell you, we weren't real thrilled about the woods either. It was the first planned neighborhood in Lake Helen, which was very much not our typical. It just didn't happen here. So that was groundbreaking, and we love you all. It's a beautiful place. It has turned into an asset for our city. Real quick, my mother-in-law was a very wonderful woman, but she was a force, and she used to say, I don't want every property. I just want every property that touches mine. Well, the fact of the matter is you guys own property, and you have every right to research all of the properties that are around you, but that's what the city plan is. When you built your home, you had property rights that we protected, and we hope that all went well. We certainly appreciate all of the building that goes into Lake Helen when it's done right, and I think Debbie does a fantastic job. I think the staff does a great job. But when you say, we're gonna lose those beautiful woods, well, somebody else owns those woods. You have an opportunity to buy them, and someone else owns them. So now we have to protect their rights as well as we protected yours. And we welcome this because Mr. Clark is correct. The city of Lake Helen is way too overdeveloped in residential and not enough commercial. And we need this commercial to take the weight off of our citizens
I'll speak my piece then. I've been here 30-some years, been on the commission, everything else. All we've talked about in all the years I've been on the commission and everything else is we need more commercial property. Oh, we were going through, she probably remember, we were talking about putting stores down Main Street, having apartments above it. Oh, we've been through about everything as far as it goes. And I really, really, I think this is gonna be a wonderful thing for the town. I really, really do. And for all you people who have been in the woods, I can remember when that first started, with Don Fidel and everything else, I was involved in. And you know what? It's turned out to be a wonderful development. I shouldn't even call it a development, really. But compared to the land and everything else, you should be very proud of where you live, and we are proud of you as far as citizens of Lake Elton. Just had to make that statement. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I just have one more thing. City administrator, I think can speak to the water issues in the woods. I know you guys do have water issues. And real quick, I live on Tangerine, and the dirt part of Tangerine. There are 4 houses on my street. And we have spears and cut-throughs because of the school. We can't do a thing about it. They do 50, 45 plus down our road, and it's a block long, and there are 4 houses on it. We all have at least 2.5 to 5 acres. And it's, you know, you can't police and change the rules for everything. You have to do the best you can and be as good of a neighbor as you can through it all. But thank you very much. And city administrator, do you want to talk about water?
I'm just gonna say, Jim, you have something to add to what we're doing?
Well, I did get a call today, I think, from this gentleman, about the water reports that were mailed. I spoke with Ricky, who's actually going to follow up with the gentleman. I've been here 5 months at the end of this week, and the plate's been pretty full. So his call today generated a conversation that I started having with Ricky with the water system. I'm currently renting in the villas, and I would say the same thing in reference to whether it's the toilet, the sink, or whatever. I mean, there's some resident, and I don't know what the answer to that is. I do know that the city has plans for a master plan for replacement of your main water distribution system. We're going through an $800,000 project right now on water meter replacement, and phase 2 out of that would be the master water plan, which would be replacement of copper and lead pipes, corrugated, but we're looking at, just right now, a ballpark estimate of $8 million, and not pushing yes or no, but going back to the comment made, right now that's paid by residential, and you can diversify your community. Some of that burden gets pushed on to commercial and professional that doesn't have homestead exemption, doesn't have, disability, veteran exemption, or any of those things, so they don't get any tax breaks in terms of that process. In reference to the roads and the trees and whatever, any developer is required to do a tree survey. They're going to be required to do a traffic survey, and the outcomes of those surveys will determine what the city will say you will need to do if there needs to be traffic improvements. There are certain specimen trees in there that may be asked to shift buildings and things to preserve, what's there. But I can tell you from the short time that I've been here and working with Debbie and Scott and Heather with the planning group, right now they're not asking for any variance. They're not asking for any special exceptions. They are meeting your code. They are following zoning. They're following your comp plan. They're following your future land use map. So ideally, they're here, one, because they're required to, but I think as a developer, they'd be here if this is just a regular public meeting. So there is an opportunity to work with them, to talk about some buffering and maybe some shifting and what have you. But in reference, if you're opposed to the development, you're opposed to the concept, that meeting was several years ago when the rezoning was put in place. And nothing negative to folks in the woods, but their houses Bobby Luther's property. So those homes are here because that property was sold and was permitted for development. So this is just a maturation of somebody owning property. You're near I-4, you're at an exit. If there's going to be something of that magnitude, that's where you put it. You don't want it in the middle of your city. You want that on the outskirts where folks will get on and get off at I-4. It comes from those medical offices.
Yeah, and one thing I have to add to this, so everybody knows, from us, it's moving to the commission for their ideas of what they, just like we did, go through it, and some ideas, so that would be the next step.
Well, the concept plan is not good for the
Oh, it doesn't go before? I thought it comes to the commission after us.
It stops here, the next part is to bring in, for them to start doing it within 6 months of tonight.
Go ahead.
They have to submit in development plans. The preliminary development plan, which would go to the, development review committee, which is staff, and then ultimately it'll come back to you. Then you'll make the actual vote,
Oh, okay.
recommendation, and that goes to the commission.
Okay.
And then after that preliminary plan is done, then a final plan will come back to you, and then back to the commission. But this concept plan does not go to the commission.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought they were the next step on the situation. So, but anyhow, I really appreciate everybody that came to the meeting tonight, and I'm glad we can get your input and what you think and everything else. Is there anything else that somebody has to say? Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, I wanted to thank you for your support on our project. Thank you for having us here tonight. And to the homeowners and residents of Lake Helen, our goal, and my goal always has been to work with the adjacent residents in these projects to accomplish a middle ground that's good for us and also good for the existing homeowners. One of the commissioners made a very good point. We all have property rights, but that does not mean that it excludes us from working together to be able to respect each other's property rights and build something that's attractive to you folks and saves a little more for us also. So I'm looking forward to meeting with the homeowners association, discussing the process with them and the things we go through. We're open to suggestions. If they're feasible, we'll absolutely will make them. If you want us to tear down 4 houses and move the ALS out by 4, I don't think we can do that much. But we'll certainly work with you the best way that's good for everyone. Always found at the end of a project, I like to shake hands with the neighbors and walk away and everybody wins. And I think Lake Helen will win this project. I believe that the woods and the adjacent businesses and property owners will also win this. So again, thank you again this evening for your comments. And be sure and give me your phone number and so forth so we can contact us. Mr. Chairman, thank you again tonight.
Thank you very much, Ted, and you gentlemen, too, for your time and everything else. And we're looking forward to it, move forward, and get something done. Is there anybody else have anything to say? And I call the meeting to end. Thank you.